We are coming to you live from Douala, the nation's economic capital, precisely at Bange, where My Media Prime's head office is located. As you already know, on Tuesdays we discuss love, relationship, and marriage. And on the program this evening, we have some really interesting topics that we are going to be dissecting in the course of today's edition of the program. We are going to be examining the purpose and design of marriage from God's perspective vis-a-vis the prevailing situation. Also, tonight we will talk about how to deal with suspicion and assumption in marriages. We have two gentlemen and a lady in the studio, and as it is often said, ladies before gentlemen. We have Mrs. Tambue joining us on the program this evening. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you.
How are you today?
I'm good, Faith. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here once more. It's really been a while.
Yes, it has.
And I'm happy to be here again.
Okay, we also have on our lineup Apostle Alfred. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening to you, Faith. Good evening to you, Henrietta. Good evening to you, Apostle Ambe, the President of Cameroon Pentecostal Movement. I'm happy to be with you guys today again to share my mind and thoughts on issues concerning marriage and family.
Thank you so much, Apostle. We also have in the studio, as already told you, a permanent consultant, Apostle Ambe Valentine. Good evening and welcome to Prime Hour.
Good evening, Faith. Good evening, my co-panelists. Good evening, Cameroonians. We had a wonderful time last week. I must say, Faith, you're an excellent presenter. God bless you.
Thank you
Welcome,
so much.
everybody. Today, we're going to be talking something very important. Stay glued to your screen and help your marriages.
All right, very important it is. Our very first topic is examining the purpose and design of marriage from God's perspective vis-a-vis the prevailing situation. I'll begin with you, Apostle. What would you say is the original purpose of marriage from God's perspective?
Yes, being a clergy, having a profound understanding of God's purpose for marriage and God being a universal creator, I think everybody has to queue behind what we are going to be presenting today. Whether you're a Muslim, a Buddhist, a Hindu, a traditionalist, you must understand that God is omniscient and He knows everything. And He is the one that brought the institution of marriage and actually has the, how do I put it, the roadmap. He has the path finding tools to make marriage successful. So we are not talking about religion here, we're talking about God. So when we mention God, people start thinking that it's because they are Christian, it's because they are Muslim. No, God is not centered around a religion. God is a creator of the universe. And we are talking here, God setting up a pattern in an institution that He created, that almost every religion that was created is part of that institution called marriage. So we should understand that. Now, Now, you see, we get married for so many reasons, and we think that those reasons can secure and preserve our marriages. Until we get God's own idea about marriage, we can never succeed. First and foremost, people get married for customary reasons. Customary reasons meaning that you get married to a lady because you want to leave a name. Somebody say you must get married so that you can be able to leave your name, your family name. That's customary. That's why, customarily speaking, when somebody gets married and unable to give birth to a child, they consider the woman as being unuseful, because the customary perspective of marriage is to produce children. There's also the religious aspect of marriage. The religious aspect of marriage also is to stay away from sin. They say get married so that you may not sin. And many people believe that if they get married, probably they will not be able to commit sin out of their marriage. But time has proven that getting married is not a cure to sin. That's a religious perspective, and people think that that's God's perspective. The next is the physical reason. Some people think that a woman looking good physically automatically can make a marriage last. So most people sometimes go for the hips, the legs, the buttocks, and other elements put together. And when they get married, they realize that after entering into those things, they cannot achieve their intent concerning marriage. They get frustrated. People also get married for how do I put it, legal reasons. Some people think that, okay, if we go to the court and we sign, it will be possible for us to last forever. But we have seen that all these things put together has not been able to keep marriage. So why did God create marriage? He said, for this cause, for this reason, for this purpose, a man shall leave his father and mother, and the two shall become one. So they are getting married for a purpose. a purpose to accomplish something. Purpose is the only thing when beauty fails, custom fails, structure fails, religion fails. The only thing that stands is purpose. If a woman you got married to, for instance, lost one of her eyes in the course of the marriage, and she's helping you fulfill your God-given purpose, her beauty will never fade away. If a woman signed a marriage certificate with you in court, and then unfortunately she cannot help you fulfill your purpose, you will tear that marriage certificate. If you got married to a woman because you did not want to sin, if she does not help you fulfill your purpose, you will look for another person that you can find purpose in. And that's the reason we have extramarital affairs. It brings us now to the scriptures. The Bible says God had told the Israelites not to intermarry with strangers. He warned them. But he said to Samson, you are going to get married to a Philistine woman. The purpose of this marriage is not to reproduce children. Neither is it for you to satisfy your ego. I'm using this marriage as a tool to bring deliverance. That means God's agenda in the relationship is stronger than the agenda of the man and the woman. So God is bringing two people together to fulfill first his purpose before satisfying their interests. But unfortunately, most people get married to satisfy their interests. So Samson was not getting married to a strange woman because of love. God was looking at that marriage as a stepping stone to penetrate the camp of the Philistines and bring deliverance to Israelites. The same with Esther. Esther was from the land of the Jews, and she was to get married to a certain king called Ahasuerus. Ahasuerus was not a God-fearing king. But you see, that marriage was designed to bring deliverance. When Esther was in that palace to get married, the Bible says that a time came when they were to annihilate all the Jews in the entire land of Babylon. But because that girl was found in that palace, she distorted the plan of the enemy. Because why? That marriage was a weapon of deliverance, not just the satisfaction of ego, sensual pleasure, reproductive organs, and all put together. So you understand that God's intent in marriage is far beyond the things we have put in front of in the moment. That's why you see, when somebody does not produce in a marriage, in God's agenda, it doesn't become a crime. But in man's agenda, it becomes a crime.
All right. Thank you so much for that very powerful introduction there, Apostle. Let me come to you, Apostle Esingi. Apostle Ambe Valentine has made mention of the purpose, which is the reason for which a man and a woman have to come together, fulfilling God's purpose. What exactly is that purpose?
Maybe I have another side of it, or I have another side of looking at it, because when we want to talk about Jesus, he said, in the beginning it was not so. So when we want to talk about marriage, we go back to the beginning.
Okay.
You know, this one it's not good for a man to be alone. You know, it's good to make a helpmate. That was, you know, trying to cover up the gap of continuity, and also companionship. Continuity was to say, okay, all the animals could produce, but man cannot produce alone. So let me get someone that is going to help man to add to humanity. Because you see, the assignment that God gave them was multiply, replenish the earth, subdue, meaning that they should take over and control the earth, which means that original intention was multiplication. Number one, companionship. Number two, so it must be clear that God was not making woman or man for sex or for some kind of other erotic affiliations, but he did that on purpose, because he said, because everything about Genesis chapter 1, 2, 3 was talking about productivity, multiplication, replenish the earth, bringing more people to the earth, and so on and so forth. It's actually maybe the white that has made us to understand that you should give birth to 1 or 2 children. But we, from the beginning, we know that when you marry a woman, she should give birth to at least 9, 10, 11, 12. So all those things are part of creation. That's what God did. So multiplication, that is why you see a lot of people unconsciously or consciously, when they don't give birth to children, they find it very funny. They find it as a problem. Like we were talking about the other day, it is natural in man to know that if a woman does not give birth to children, it becomes a problem, because God created a woman so that the woman should complement, be able to help the man and be able to help the man achieve one, to produce, to get generations after him. Then number two, to be able to meet up with purpose, like Apostle said. But now the first man, what was his purpose? His purpose was to replenish the earth. His purpose was to add human beings to the earth. His purpose was to, to carry out God's assignment, which had to do in those times to dress the garden and to fix everything to look good, because there were no other thing. There was no ministry, there was nothing in those days. There was no achievements that they were supposed to achieve. But the purpose, exactly, because I am seeing multiplication, I am seeing companionship, because the loneliness issue was a great challenge. And that's where I see it from the beginning. Because when we say in the beginning it was not so, it means that when we want to talk about it, we go back to the beginning and look at what was in the beginning. What was God saying in the beginning? Why was he looking at man and wanted, when he saw man, man was alone. The other animals could reproduce, but man could not reproduce. So there was a need to get some other person, a female gender who is like an incubator, that is going to keep that seed and produce it to become something. Because right from that beginning, the seed of the woman had a problem with the seed of the devil. Right from that beginning, it says, it shall bite his ears, and it shall bruise his head. So it became that particular concern. Why was God creating a woman? Why was God creating a woman for a man that has already been fulfilled? He's already in the garden, he's working, he had everything. He want to eat this, he can get, he want that, he can get. But he wanted a companion to come for the man, and number two, to produce. So that is it. I have a lot of things I'm going to be coming up very soon, so that I'll be able to make up these things, because we came later to see Paul saying some things about marriage. A man who never got married, and even encourage people not to get married. People should be like him as a single person, talking about marriage and telling us how we should do marriage. It means that there's a problem somewhere. Let's try to look at that.
Okay, Mrs. Henrietta, Apostle Ambe and Apostle Esingi have specifically focused on procreation and companionship. What would you say, from your own learning, is the original purpose why God created marriage?
Thank you very much, Faith. From all what they have said, it's all aligned to the purpose of why God created marriage in the first place. But I want to look at it particularly following from what Apostle Ambe has been saying, the assignment, what he wants both parties to fulfill. Okay. I think that's something God looks at and pays a lot of attention to it. I want to say that, going back to Genesis chapter 2, where he said, it is not good for a man to be alone. Now, the loneliness, given that he originally created a man, put him in the garden and gave him work. So there was work to be done at that point. Actually, the man at the garden had a lot to do. But looking at him, he discovered that the man was so insufficient compared to the work that was right ahead of him. And so he decided that he needs a companion. And God's focus at that particular point in time was basically to achieve the purpose, because there was work to be done, and he was very interested in the purpose that they had to achieve together. And that is why we are seeing later on, it is later on he comes back, he said, okay, both of you now, I now bring a helpmate. And that's why we see in his words, he didn't say, I'm bringing you an emotional partner. I'm not bringing somebody to a sexual partner or something. I'm bringing a helper, someone to help you so that you can accomplish this assignment. Because you alone, you cannot carry on this assignment. So I'm bringing someone with whom you can work hand in glove to be able to complete this assignment. Then he went further. He said, okay, now you both are together. Subdue the earth. Go ahead and multiply. He now added to their responsibility. But the original plan is that you have to accomplish a task together. That is the reason why God gives priority to the task a couple has to fulfill together. And he keeps aside emotions. He's not very moved by the emotions. He's not very moved by the love, whether you love him or you do not love him, whether you are angry with your spouse or not. What he's interested in is that he wants you both to fulfill purpose. The assignment that he has given you, we're trying to ask about the assignment. Every couple have an assignment. We cannot, 2 or 3 couples cannot have the same assignment. There is work to be done. There's a lot that
and that's why you
have
need to align with God in order to know.
That's why you have to align with God, and that's why God says he brought a helpmeet that is sufficient, that is fit for each man. I can be fit for Mr. Fontinglade, but I'm not fit for Mr. John.
True.
So I have to actually fit what is his assignment first of all. What has he got to do? Now, do I have what it takes to help him so that we can fulfill this assignment together? If I don't have, then you may be fitting a square peg in a round hole, and that's not going to work. So in God's perspective, he so wants that, all right, if Mary and John are coming together, it should be that they are able and they are capable of fitting in and fulfilling that assignment, that purpose, that which I want this particular couple to fulfill. It might be that you need to create companies, so your spouse should be the one that can help you to build that plan of action, to be able to execute and bring it to fulfillment. It should be that you should help the vulnerable. You both should think alike. You shouldn't be thinking helping and I am thinking something else. So that is in the original plan of God. So he so look at what he wants you to work to do as a couple, and he brings you together. I think that is the reason why he decided to bring Eve at this point in time, to bring the woman in the life of the man.
You made mention of the fact that it doesn't matter, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, if I misconstrued you. You made mention it doesn't matter if you love your partner or no, love your husband, I think the woman or not. Are we by this saying that the place of being in love with your partner doesn't find itself in marriage?
It does find itself, but it's not the priority.
Oh, it's not the priority.
It's not the priority.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let me come to you, Apostle. Contextually speaking, when we take a look at today's society, when we take a look at today's Africa, and of course Africa in the past, would you say that we of this present generation are living in the purpose that God had originally made marriage for?
Following God's purpose is not an illusion. It's not an imagination.
Okay.
It's a deliberate act that you look internally to find out the abilities that God has deposited in you. You drive your energy towards a particular direction. The issue is we have to understand the object and the subject. The object of marriage is a purpose. The subject is a benefit. For instance, you are a journalist here. You have an objective, and that object has subject. For instance, they give you a car tomorrow. You didn't come because of car. You came here to render service in journalism. That car is a subject to your object. That will say childbearing is a subject to the object called marriage. If tomorrow they give you a house, they give you a bodyguard, those are all subjects to the object.
Sure.
We want to make sure we balance what we are discussing here. Why did God create the institution called marriage? Let's not go and look for the benefits of salvation and forget about salvation. Salvation itself is the object. The benefit of salvation is healing. Healing is not a subject. Healing is a benefit that came along with salvation. So childbearing is a benefit. That's the reason why they only had children when they sinned.
Oh.
You didn't get what I said. Adam and Eve had their first child in a fallen state. To tell you that God's purpose and intent for that marriage was not for just to come and give birth to children. Now, God did not give Adam a wife. He gave Adam a helper. You get married to a helper. Wife is a title. Helper is a responsibility. So when you want to get married, go for a helper. You may name her wife anytime. That's what some people say is my wife. Some say is my honey. Some say is my darling. Some say is my sweetheart. Wife is an English word that describes the helper that is given to a man. But God actually understands the word that the woman that comes to a man's life as a helper. So when you get married to a helper, you may name her a wife. So wife is a description. Wife, helper is a responsibility. So when a woman comes into your life, she's coming to help you fulfill a purpose. When God sent Eve in the life of Adam, they were in the Garden of Eden, turning the garden because that was what God called Adam to do. Now, children only came as a result of Adam's fallen state. As long as they were in the purpose of God working, they were so consumed with the vision of the purpose until childbearing was not a subject. So when we make the subject become the object, we misplace the use and the priority of marriage. You understand? So we know we are not eroding the idea of producing children or multiplying. No, but it shouldn't be the focus.
But Apostle Esing was saying that from the start, in the beginning, that was pretty much the focus of marriage, that they should procreate.
You know, they were in a debate. I'm sharing my point. He has to share his point. I'm sharing my point.
Okay.
We are talking from the same text, from the same word of God.
Okay.
So we like I said, there are things that you will get here as a journalist. But if you drift your focus of what you came here to do, to render services by giving out information, dispensing news to the people, and focus on the car that came as a benefit to your primary responsibility here, and then it's a loss of priority. Children is not the purpose of marriage. Children are incentives. Children are the fallout. Children are the consequences of marriage. So you don't get married to give birth to children, because you can give birth to children and not still stay in marriage. How you are talking about the purpose of getting married. So let us go for the substance and forget about the shadows. And this is the reason why it is possible for a man and a woman to stay without ever having a child, but they fulfill what those who have children don't fulfill. A man and a woman can be without reproducing on earth, yet their impact is felt. If marriage was a purpose of creation, then Mother Teresa will not have impact more than most married men. She had no husband, she had no child, but she was in God's purpose. And she accomplished the purpose in a grand style that she is now left with a monument behind to celebrate her impact upon the earth. So let us go for the object in marriage, not just the subject. Let's go for the substance, not the shadow. Let's go for the purpose, not the fallout or the consequences of marriage. So why did God make marriage? Is it to impregnate a woman? No.
Thank you so much, Apostle. Back to you. back to you. Back to you, Apostle Alfred. You had made mention of the fact that procreation is one of the main things that help us to fulfill exactly God's original design and purpose for marriage. Doesn't that focus, at the end of the day, put a lot of weight on the marriage to the point where it's probably not as enjoyable as it is supposed to be? Or will we say that marriage is just for us to fulfill the duty and not enjoy it too at the end of the day?
All right. I would want to say that God created, God create the institution called marriage.
Okay.
God created male and female. It was Adam that began giving names. I began telling things about
Interesting.
that. Yes, it was Adam. Man gave many names to many things. We are the ones calling it marriage today. But that is not how God called it from the beginning. In Genesis chapter 1 from verse 26, and God said, let us make man in our own image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the earth, of the sea, over the fowls of the air, and over the cattle, and over the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he, male and female created he them. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the earth, and have dominion over the fish of the earth, and sorry, please, have dominion over the fish of the earth, of the sea, and over the fowls of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. That is exactly the mission of man from the beginning. A woman was created to have that dominion, to help the man have the dominion, to carry out the assignment of subduing. Let me tell you why I say Eve was not created to do what Adam was doing. Because Eve was strolling in the garden. It was not working. That is where the devil met her. The devil met her and began to give her assignment. Since she did not have an assignment, she was moving up and down, while the man was busy working somewhere else. That's exactly where the fall came about. That's where the problem came about. Now, we are seeing that God created man so that he can dominate. But how does he dominate? Is to multiply himself, to produce himself.
Is a must in marriage.
No, it is the beginning of information, of instruction.
Okay.
Yes. Now, that is why those who are trying to carry out this kind of situations where they want to relinquish people from the earth and some kind of things, they are going against God's will and God's plan. God's plan was different from what is happening on the earth today. These institutions were trying to make it and make it and make it and make it. Now, do you know that even the church accepted white wedding, which is not in the Bible? Why did they accept it? Is because man made that institution. Now, if you marry traditionally and you are a believer in the church and you start sleeping with your wife, or you start taking your wife home, you'll be suspended for doing that. Because of what? Man has put some laws and has put some things and makes it worse. Now, if we come to understand, am I trying to say that marriage must only be that you give birth to children? No. There are many ways that people can multiply. You can multiply through, you can adopt children and plant in their life, develop them, let them become useful, let them become a lot of people have given birth to children and the children are useless. You know, they don't carry out that really, you know, dominating and having dominion over the earth. Now let us see if it's the beginning. I'm trying to talk about the beginning because we just started, but now when we go to the middle, I'm going to go into the marital institutions upon the earth, because you want us to talk about what God sees and what is happening to us today, and that is what I'm trying to bring in the balance.
That is where we are getting to. We have already got into it, because the question we are asking this evening is examining the purpose and design of marriage from God's perspective and design, and what is prevailing today. So what would you say is prevailing today? What
is prevailing today is very clear. Men have made an institution called marriage and have designed it and given the beauty they want to give it to it. But in the scriptures, according to Paul, Apostle Paul, he made it clear that to him, he sees no need about marriage. Whatever reason, I don't understand, and I don't still note it today. But that is the person that has the basis and the foundation for teaching of marriage. If you hear of Christian marriage today, it's coming from a man who did not get married and who did not have much experience with getting married. And that is what we must understand, some intricacies. These intricacies are things that we must see every day. When we talk about purpose, fulfilling purpose, the truth about it is that there are a lot of people that you marry that don't really know your design of work or whatever, but just the fun they give you, just the passion. Some men get married, they don't want you to work, they don't want you to do anything. They just want you to be at home, they just want you to take care of their children, they just want you to take care of maybe the home and just make the home to be warmed. And that is why women say no, they are tired of that and they want something better and bigger. And when they started getting something better and bigger, that is where problems become, a lot of problems in the family. Now, from the day that man decides to say, people begin to say that let the woman also work, let the woman also do, that is where we have all the problems we're having today. But before, when we want to talk about the society, fathers and mothers got married and they were together in the house. The mother will go to the farm and work on the farm. When they come back, she takes care of the children, and when the children are bad, they will say that it's the mother. When the children are good, they say no, it's the father, because they know that it's coming from there. So I am looking at it from these angles from the beginning, but obviously I'm going to catch up with what I'm saying. But today, what is happening in our society today is full of institutions that have been put by men and teaching men how to survive in certain things. And that's why we keep on teaching people every day, but they are not getting it. We keep on telling people marriage every day and they're not getting it, because the institution that does not necessarily come from the spirit of a man. It comes from the feelings and the emotions of men. Men are having this emotion and passion. They want to get the kind of woman they want every other day, and that is where these problems are coming from. So I will still call our attention today, making us to understand that most of the institutions that we call marriage today has been placed there by men. Traditional marriage. We went for one traditional marriage on Saturday, and I saw the mess that was there. The people were using every little opportunity to get money from us. Marriage that was supposed to be a tradition that they were supposed to take cowries or maybe some few francs or some few symbolic issues. But now, whiskey has entered. Beer has entered, and so many other things. Our gods in those days, were they drinking beer and whiskey? They were drinking matango. Why are we doing with whiskey and this? That is why I say that these particular institutions are placed by men. Now, if you don't go and marry in the court, they will tell you that your marriage is not legal. So you go to marry there as an institution that was placed by men. Now you go to the church to marry white wedding. Is that our culture? The white wedding is the culture of the white man. After we have finished our own culture, we enter into the culture of the white person, and they say no, it's the spiritual wedding. That's exactly what we have been seeing today in the churches, and it is setting a lot of confusion. If you want to marry a woman today and you don't take the woman to the church, to the village, to the court, to the church,
it's not complete.
It's not complete, and you will pay for it dearly. You will do a very serious wedding. That's where the confusion is coming from. Let's try to see how it works.
Well, we're going to be coming back to all those details. A lot is being raised as a result of this talking point. Mrs. Harrietta, would you say we are deviating from the original purpose, just like Apostle Isingi was saying, that we are deviating from the original purpose and plan or design of marriage? When you take a look at today's world, contextually speaking, Africa, to be precise, because, well, we are the African eye.
Of course, we are the African eye. To an extent. Okay, to an extent, because we can't just roll out everything as though marriage no longer has value in Africa. To an extent, and with the prevailing situations now, the society is gradually deviating from the original plan and purpose of God for what concerns marriage. And if we are not very careful, in some years to come, we might really get it wrong, and we might just drift out of what God actually is interested in, as far as marriage is concerned. I want to get back to the fact that marriage is a covenant. Okay, it's not an agreement. In the African context, take it in that African context, take in whatever context, marriage is a covenant. It's a covenant between two persons, and God being at the center of it. And he designs this covenant, and he is at the center because he wants to watch and follow up all that which is done, to ensure that the work he wants you to do is being done. God did not design a woman to come and stay idle beside a man, like some men nowadays who want their wives stay home, do not do anything. That is why he says your helper, to help you do something. So she too has to be working. If Adam failed to put Eve to work, that was his problem, and that's why she was deceived. I think a lot of men should learn from it. If he actually failed, kept the wife home, I don't know if that he failed in his responsibility, or that she was a lazy woman who didn't want to work, and so she stayed idle around and gossip. It's often said that an idle mind is a devil's workshop. When you are idle, it's an opportunity for the devil to come and have Bible studies with you and teach you new things that you can do. So I don't know if it's that Adam he just decided that his wife to stay home and did not take her to the field. But God's plan was not, I don't think God actually intended that Eve should be in a garden without having job to do. If we look through the Bible, even the Old Testament, you discover that most of the ladies, the women that are being invoked in the Bible, you saw them working in the field. You saw Rebecca working. You saw Deborah working. She had more than 2 things that she was doing. You see the women were actively working. The Proverb 31 woman, the husband actually sat and admired all what she was doing. She works in, she works day out. She takes care of the family. She performs her matrimonial duties, and she still goes. So she was economically very, very viable and relevant to the family. And I think that is exactly the purpose. God actually wants a woman that stands beside a man and support him, so that a man would not die prematurely. A man didn't come to work for the woman to sit and eat. That was not the initial plan, and that is the reason why we are saying that a lot of men nowadays want to fight their women back because they're working. They want her to sit home, and just answer yes and just sit and then they work for you to eat. So now later they'll be the ones complaining. So we going back to the issue of love, like we first of all talked about, and you're talking about, if you just want to look at love, then you won't go anywhere. The prevailing situation in the society is now is that most men who want to get married go after love. They look at the woman with shape, with the breast. Is it
the men that go after love, or is the women that go after love?
Both.
Because I've read both. Because I read a very interesting write-up the other day that a man would marry, that after doing whatever it is he wants to do with other women, a man will come and marry a woman that will be able to build his home. He does not really care whether he's in love with that woman or not. And I also read somewhere that a woman will marry a man that she knows can take very good care of her. So are these people really going after love? Are they really? Or they are going after their wants and their needs that can be met at the end of the day?
At this point in time, we are thinking about the society of today, young ones that are coming up.
Okay.
You see a lot of catastrophe out there in the name of love. At this past Valentine.
Oh, yes.
Valentine Day that just passed. I can't. I can't count the number of cases I saw guys collapsed and whatever, the kind of stories, love. That's love. To them, they call it love. But marriage cannot be built on love. Just love. Emotions got nothing to do. Because emotions, they can always change. Today you are on, today, tomorrow you are off. Today you feel, I feel for you, like, my husband is good. Tomorrow there is just something that comes to your mind and you don't just want to see that person around you. And that's how God has made it. I said, no, the primary purpose, the motive for which you are coming together is not just about the emotions that you have to share. Not the love, because keep loving you day in, day out. There will be a reason why I shouldn't love you. But the prevailing situation in the society, we are running after love. Even women. Women have left their own assignment. A woman is called to submit. A woman is called to submit to a man and respect him, and you work as a team while he does the leadership, while he leads. But a lot of women have left the place of submission and they're loving. And that's why they're failing. Because you stay home rather than doing what you ought to do. You go to your place of work rather than concentrating on your assignment. You're thinking about a man. You're fainting. You're suspecting. You don't know where your man can be right now. You don't know what can be happening. You take your emotions and you want it to rule your marriage. It can never work that way. If you see most marriages that really succeed to the core and they're sustained, you discover that it's not about your emotions. It's not about how you feel. It's not about the emotions. It's that everybody is busy. I am busily working. You are busy working. We have a target that we have set ahead of us. We want to achieve something. So that's what preoccupies me, and that's what preoccupies you. It's not about spending my time thinking about, my husband and all of that. The marriage will soon crack.
Okay.
You will go nowhere.
Apostle Ambe Valentine, I have a very pertinent question to ask you, but one of our viewers has one, so you answer this one before you come to the question or questions I have for you. This one says, good evening, Miss Faith. Please, I would love to ask this question. Did God actually have Eve in his original plan of creation? Because the Bible said it was due to the fact that no creature looked like Adam to relate with him that he created Eve.
No, there's a difference between creativity and formation. God created Adam and Eve.
Okay.
It's saying the Bible of Genesis says God created him male and female. Creativity is something that is in the mind. Oh, yeah. Formation is a manifestation of the physical structure of that is in your mind. Perfect. For right now, Faith has created a business in her mind. That's creativity. So it has to do with the mind. So when God was creating, he created male and female. So Adam and Eve were pregnant. God was pregnant with Adam and Eve inside of them. And then now God first of all formed the male. That's why the Bible says in the book of Genesis 2, and God formed man from the dust of the ground. But he created man in Genesis. So what he created was what he perceived, he conceived in his mind. Just like a sperm that drops into the ovaries of a woman has created a seed in that woman. But as the days are going by, the formation of that seed to become a foetus, then producing and coming a child, is what is called as formation. So when they say God created male and female, it means he created Adam and Eve at the same time in his mind. When it was time for formation, now he formed Adam first. Then later on, after observing Adam's movement up and down, he said it is not good for the man to be alone. I'm going to make him not a wife. Please, I still say it. He didn't make Adam a wife. It's us who have given Adam a wife. He gave Adam a helper. If you want to get married, don't get married out of sentiment. Get married out of interest.
Interest?
God gave Adam a helper, not an emotional attachment partner. Most of us carry emotion to marriage. Carry man who will help you. Get married to a man who will help you, a woman that will help you. I'm preaching this now, people say I'm bringing problem. but Apostle,
they say God is a God of love, and he manifests his love to us on a daily basis. How then do we say that there is the place of love is not a very solid one in marriage?
No. Nobody has rolled out the idea of love. Nobody rolled out the idea of love. I'm telling you, I'm talking about the object and the subject. I'm talking about the substance and the shadow. Okay. Many people pursue shadows and leave the substance. And now shadow can easily disappear, because as a man, when there is no sunlight and there's no light, my shadow will disappear. But I can't disappear. So objects will always remain. But subjects or shadows, substance will always remain, but shadows will disappear. So most persons follow the shadow and leave the substance. financially, because the people think about financially. No. Somebody can help you psychologically, emotionally. Somebody can push you to become what God has destined you to be. Look for a helper. Don't just look for somebody you are emotionally attached to. So God created Adam and Eve in his mind, but formed Adam first.
Okay. One of our viewers says, what is the definition of love in this context? That we should try to separate love from emotions, just like Mrs. Harrietta was saying.
Okay. Emotion or affection is the chemistry that brings two opposite sex together. That's not love. Love is consciously accepting the good, the bad, and the ugly of an individual. Consciously accepting the good, the bad, and the ugly. For God so loved the world. While we were yet sinners, we were not doing what pleased him, but his love superseded our errors. So what our love is not that my wife gave bad fashion, I don't love her. You never ever loved her. Because if you love her, you will love that bad fashion. Because love supersedes your actions. Love supersedes your temperament. So love is a conscious act. It's not a feeling. But emotion or affection is the chemistry that brings two opposite sex together. Why do we need affection? Because without it, we can't draw ourselves together. When we come close now, we start thinking of love. That love has nothing to do with feelings. That's why they say a man should love a husband, not a man. A husband should love the wife. Fiancés don't love. Fiancés have affection. When it comes to husband and wife, that's why you practice love. Because you see all the errors. You see the mistakes. You see the bad attitude. You are asking as a husband to love. So the description of the male factor has different characteristics. A man can be a father, not a husband. A man can be a husband, not a father. A man can be difficult to love. Oh yeah, I'm ready today. I came prepared.
So let's get to Apostle Alfred before we come back to Apostle Ambe. We noticed that in today's society, a lot of cases of divorce, a lot of cases of domestic violence, a lot of cases of a lot of cheating scandals, and also other abominable acts, as we can put them, that have occurred in marriages. Should we say that God is frowning at us for having derailed from the original purpose for which he created marriage? Or you said he man created marriage, or ordained a man and woman to come together?
Yeah. That's actually the definition that men give to issues, and then it becomes a problem to them. Okay. Apostle have made it clear that you get married out of interest. That is how it should be. That's how marriage should be in the first place. You should be able to find out what you want from that person.
Yes, sir.
What actually you want to see in that person. That's exactly what you go for it. Now, if a man comes and he looks at Faith, oh, Faith is wonderful, Faith is beautiful, and she works in television station, so because of that, I'm going to get married to her. That's just it. It's not as if she has not seen other women around, or maybe her neighbor and your church or whatever. But she now looks at you from his own point of interest. What does he like? What does she also like when she sees the man? I like man when he get broad chest. I like the one with black hair tall. You know, that is interest. All of those things are interests. Unfortunately, when they go in, it's just like they used to say, I buy something, I carry home. I go discover saying that thing where I buy, no be I carry and go home. That is exactly how it is. Now you're going to find out that you have just chosen some small attributes and forget about the main thing. A lot of people make those mistakes. When a woman starts giving birth and a lot of things start changing, a lot of things start falling and other things, they begin to lose interest. Because what really actually attracted them to this person was the shape, the look, and the niceness, all those kind of things. That's it. But now it's no longer there. This woman used to talk so nicely and so wonderfully, she spoke so well, but now she can argue and quarrel with the man. And that's why a lot of churches today have a lot of problems, especially that of the pastors, because the pastor was getting married knowing that the woman will still respect her as a minister of God. But unfortunately, the woman now understands that we are equal. You be my husband, I'll be your wife. That's what you get for taken. But the pastor is still trying to make prophets and make apostle, and that is why there's a lot of problem. We have seen these things and we see them every day. The truth is the truth. People go in for something, and what they took home, they realize that it was not what they took home, and the reason they react to it is because they are telling you that that's not my interest. That's not what I actually wanted.
So they don't even know their interest.
They don't even know it. They thought that maybe that thing will remain the way it is. Why should you choose values that are going to depreciate with time, and not choose values that are going to be lasting, like good character, good behavior, industriousness, and other things? That's what you should be looking at, not just the nice shape and everything, because that is what we're happening today. Why are all pastors having beautiful wives? The new one now is you must marry a professional woman, you know, to make announcement on the microphone and things. And that is why marriages are failing, because the woman also have a need. She also have an interest, and at the end of the day, she doesn't see that interest. She sees you talking with other girls. She sees you always with other girls. She sees you, you know, you have time more for the church, and you don't have time for his people. It becomes a problem. It's a really, really big problem. That's why the divorce is coming. Why are divorces coming from Christians? Why? The divorce we're talking about today come from Christians. So that's exactly what I'm trying to say this. So let's check very well and see why God should be happy or God should be angry. People take decisions that they are not sure of what they want. And when they get in there, people begin to depreciate. If you saw maybe Madame Henrietta when she got married, she was younger, she was fresh, she was more beautiful. But the work, the stress, the children and everything is also working on her. Age is also coming up. And then the man is also smart, and is he trying to wear gym trouser, and you know, is he trying to make a boxer man? And then he sees that the woman I got married is not really what I am seeing at this moment. So they begin to depreciate. So go for values that will last. Don't go for values that will depreciate with time. The body will depreciate, you know, the style will depreciate. That baby when you see on the head, so one then this na boat na buy baby with the buy them, and then the other ones na borrow with the borrow and for friend. They will start taking back one, and then it becomes a problem. And many men don't really invest on their wives to make them beautiful. You got married to a very beautiful woman, and then you put her in the house. She also has an interest to look beautiful, but you don't do anything to make her beautiful. When you marry a woman, work on her body. Women knew that when I marry you, I will become better. But when they see themselves every day, they are depreciating, they are going down, they are going low. Why would they not go to look for other things? That is why they go out and look for other things. You don't work on yourself as a man. You just think that, and I don't marry na say go be. The same marriage you got married 10 years ago, and you're expecting the marriage to still remain the same without evolving. People must grow in marriage. People must develop new skills, new styles, new tactics, and whatever. Sometimes you see people, see, Mama Faith, let me not talk this kind of thing, because Apostle Ambe will tell me that I've talked rubbish on the this.
Just say it.
All over the Facebook today and the internet, people are advertising manpower.
Ah, yes.
Everywhere you want to scroll, people are advertising manpower.
That is true.
Some of them are natural, some of them are artificial. But you will discover that a lot of these guys would do nothing to build up themselves. They say, no, we are Christians. We are not supposed to develop ourselves. We are not supposed to. No, you did not marry, you know, for this kind of a thing. And then at the end of the day, the woman is dying in the house. One of the things a woman will not trade is her emotions. A woman doesn't trade her emotion. Whether she tells you that all is well is a lie. She will come back for you one day, because she was giving you 1 year. May you learn, may you upgrade. It give you 2 years. May you learn, may you upgrade. And then you still remain in the same position, telling her, sorry, mommy, I know I cannot really satisfy you. I know you understand. And then at the end of the day, the woman say, get out. After 3 years, now she's not looking for maybe marriage anymore. She now looks for her happiness. She now looks for her joy. So she begins to work out things for her joy. And then you begin to say, woman, a bad woman. All women are the same. No, na lie. You got married to your own, and you did not upgrade. You did not work out everything. So I'm still saying something. While we are saying that God is angry about some things, we should also see that God does not even look at where we are looking at. God may not even understand. He said, no, that one are their principles. They set their principles, and they themselves are working on their principles. And that is all. God becomes angry when you guys start breaking eternal laws. You start breaking kingdom laws. You start breaking things. If that your quarrel and your argument leads you to break laws, don't quarrel, don't argue, because it's going to cause you a lot of problems. So I am saying this. Women have their interests, and one of them is their emotions. They don't trade it. they don't trade it, especially the ones that have tasted this thing before. They know it. They know how it looks. So when you keep them in your house, you must be sure that you can be able to match up to it. I don't know how you want to do them, but do something. Do something.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Apostle. It had to be said. So,
Yes.
Mrs. Areta, how then, as a woman, prior to marriage even, how then do you prepare yourself in order to align with the purpose of marriage and also to guide your interests, like both Apostle Ambe Valentine and Apostle Alfred Isingi have been saying all through?
How you get yourself ready as a woman for
How do you get yourself and align to align with God's original purpose or plan for marriage?
Yeah, as a woman, as a lady who is preparing to get married, what I would advise you is that you stay away from the wanting to make the body beautiful.
Oh,
And forget about the primary things. That doesn't mean that you present yourself ugly, because the physical look too, men are attracted to it. You know, it's often said that men are moved by what they see and women are moved by what they hear. So while you work on your physical appearance and not exaggerating on it, go for what is most relevant. Build yourself. Understand that you are supposed to be a helpmeet to somebody. You're supposed to be a teammate. You're not going to be an idle person. You're not going to sit in somebody's house that will work and give you to eat like a lot of people think. You're not going to sit and make children, which is not the primary essence of marriage. You're not supposed to go and cook for a man. My father said one time that if a man wanted food, he would buy from a restaurant. If he wanted sex...
So never should a woman who's preparing to get married find herself cooking in a man's house.
Oh no, cooking is part of the deal.
Okay.
Every other thing is part of the deal. But what is most important is building capacity. Building yourself to be able to meet up to the man you have to help. It's true that unfortunately a lot of women, when they get they get into marriage and then they discover that the man they are married to does not even have a vision. And they don't even see what they are coming to help you do. When they start asking, but I'm coming to help this man, what is he doing? What do you have on the table?
Most men to go that they should help them. Instead of going to help, they go. They go for help in marriage.
We are talking about you are supposed to be a team, and when you are a team, we are a team player. You must have capacity. You can't go empty-handed. There's something you must have to put on the table. That is, you should be able to help. How am I supposed to help? Build yourself in whatever area. It must not be school. In fact, even in our society today, we discover that those who do petty jobs and all of that, they even do better. Put yourself in an activity that will permit you to earn money, that you can help this man. The Prophet 31 woman did not sleep on the bed expecting the husband to give her food. She did not. And she's the example of the woman that we are supposed to be today. So if you are preparing to get married, set yourself to work. And it is not while you get married that you start thinking of what to do. You already start thinking about, let a man meet you on the field. Like Rebecca, they should meet you doing something. So you are relevant. And I'll tell you something. Any woman who stays home waiting for a man to provide, you are a liability, and no man will ever respect a woman who has nothing to bring on the table. No man respects a woman who cannot contribute to the well-being of the family in any way or the other. When he comes to ideas, you have no idea to give him. He has a project at hand, there is nothing. He looks left and look right. He wants to share with somebody, but you are not fit enough. You do not even have the capacity. You cannot help him. You can't give an idea as to what concerns his projects. Then what are you doing? That's why you have to keep learning. We have to keep learning. Unfortunately, our society today, we relax a lot. We are that society that young women, they don't like reading, they don't like studying, there are refreshment courses everywhere. Young ladies, if you are planning to get married tomorrow, get yourself to work, go to refreshment courses, learn something, have something that you carry into marriage with. You don't go empty-handed. I did not get married. I got married working. I had a salary. And to tell you the truth, no in-law come to talk to me anyhow. Because I didn't come, you didn't take me and give me a job. Or you didn't send me to school. It's true there are marriages that they marry and then send to school and all of that, blah, 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 you're working. But then make sure make sure that as you're getting into marriage, you should have something in your hands that you're taking into marriage. You can be able to fulfill your assignment as a helper. Don't go as a liability. You are a helper. What are you taking into marriage?
Okay. Thank you so much. So, Apostle, she's elaborated on what women should do to to prepare themselves so that they can align with God's purpose before even getting into a marriage. I'll now ask you, what can these gentlemen do? Because it takes two to tango. It is both of them. If they don't align or they don't have an idea of exactly what they are getting themselves into, they will not be able to fulfill God's purpose at the end of the day. Not necessarily speaking just about men, about the women as well. What would you have to add on that?
Yeah, from a generic point of view, marriage is not a job opportunity. Marriage is not a job opportunity. Some people think that they are employed when they get married. Secondly, marriage is not an employment. Thirdly, most people enter into marriage with the wrong perspective. From the angle of the men who get married to rich women, they married to be helped while they were sent to help. From the women that get married to a rich man, they married looking for help while they were sent to help the man. And from that angle, you appear more like a slave, not a wife. You appear more like a beggar, not a wife. You appear more like somebody who is like a child in the hand of the man, not a wife. And I think the perspective you have to carry into marriage is that you are going to help. You are not going to be helped. Yeah, most parents will tell you that marry that man or you go hell away. So the girl entered into the marriage to go and look for help. Why, biblically speaking, she was sent to help.
Yes.
That's the problem. And because of that, you don't have your worth. I told my children in the church, I said, when I teach you girls to work hard and earn your own living, it is because it secures your place in the marriage. It makes you more of a wife than a house help. And the reason why some women don't have a say in their own home is because they don't contribute. Any society that you are not contributive in, you have no value. The same with family meeting. You lost your position as the first child when the last born has money more than you. When you sit in a family meeting, they will talk, you will talk. Papa is dead, what are we going to do? You say, I'm the first born of the family. Considering my position and my age, I want part to be buried in the village. They say, well, we have heard what you have said. Let the person who is going to buy the coffin say so. Then your younger brother, who is about the foot behind you, says, looking at the situation, the financial situation of the family, I think I should be buried in Pernambuco. Because I'm going to buy all the drinks, I'm going to buy all the food, and then I'm going to make the coffin. And then you say, how can I say this? You say, no, wait, we are talking about something that is very important here. So you realize when you are not contributing in every society, you lost your relevance. It's the same thing in marriage. The honor of a woman is not her beauty. The honor of a woman is not her makeup. The honor of a woman is not even the background she comes from. The honor of a woman is the role she plays in bringing up the family. How she contributes economically, psychologically, spiritually, otherwise to make the family become what it is. Such men see you as treasures. And that's the reason why it will be difficult for a man to let go a woman. For instance, I said that if I marry Fuluronsho Alakija, who happens to be the richest black woman, we will never divorce. We will not divorce. If she asks me, I will cry. I say, Mama, you can't divorce me now. You can't do this to me. Why there are some men, when they say they want to divorce a woman, the woman will say, hey, what if the difference between you divorcing me and me staying in your house? Your absence is equal to your presence.
Oh my God.
Nothing, no difference in self.
There is nothing.
A woman
went to church one day and they were asking of widows. The husband was sitting in church. He came out. Yes, wow. She said the man is equal to somebody who is dead because the man is not valuable. So sometimes a widow is not somebody who has lost a husband by death. It's somebody who has a husband who will not contribute. On the other hand, a widower is not somebody who has lost a wife. It's one that has a wife that even box match. It's a box of match in the house. They will call you and say, what's all you do? Boss matches don't finish. such a person you see himself as a widower, not somebody who is married. So this is what we are talking about: women bringing value in their homes as well as men bringing value in their homes.
Okay.
If they say you are a helper, faith, then I have to lift this thing up. You are my helper. You are lifting that one. It means we almost have equal force. That's why the statement that says what a man can do, a woman can do, it's not wrong. Because if you are a helper and I have to lift up this table, then we must have equal and opposite force to lift up the table. Now, when we use the word a woman is a weaker vessel, it has nothing to do with psychological and physical strength. You have to do emotional strength. A woman is weak emotionally, but not weak physically. There are women who are doing physical jobs, constructing houses and doing that men don't do. So that weaker vessel should not be misconstrued for the inability to be productive. It should be considered at the level where they can be emotionally driven. What a woman can see and cry, a man can withhold his emotion. That's where weakness comes from.
All right, let's take a few messages and then we're going to conclude on our very first topic and then go on a quick jingle break, then dive into the second one. This one says, good evening, intelligent panelists in the studio. In any case, though many today treat marriages as frivolous or inconsequential, we must remember God's purpose for this blessed union and cherish the relationship he saw as a fitting illustration of his love for us. But then, unfortunately, not everyone holds marriage in such high regard or treasures their wife with such esteem. It's no secret to say that our society has developed a serious marriage problem. An institution once considered sacred is now treated with scorn. One thing for such is that we are not on track with the purpose of marriage in God's perspective, but marriage is far more important than one may have ever imagined because it affects God's reputation on this planet. That's why it's essential for one to set Jesus Christ apart as the builder, as a builder of your home. Thank you so much, Denzi Bright, for watching and for participating. Keep your messages coming. You're watching Prime R on My Media Prime TV. Our numbers have changed. Please, if you want to send us a message, use the number you can find on your screen. Apostle Alfred, these days we find that as we round up on this particular topic, these days we find a lot of women, especially ones that have been empowered, those that call themselves empowered women, completely erasing the importance of men in their lives. We even have some of them who have become really, really empowered in their homes, not listening to their husbands anymore, not wanting anything to do with the instructions that they receive from their husbands. What do we do about these kinds of people, especially the one in homes, the women in homes? It means they themselves are totally and completely away from the purpose that Christ has originally created marriage for. And then those that are yet to get married will probably think that they can just go out there, get themselves a child, and then they continue their lives.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, everyone has a choice. Not everyone must get married. That's what we should know. It's just that we're trying to make everybody to look as if they must marry before they are accepted in the society or before they succeed. A lot of people don't marry and they do well and they achieve a lot of things. Let me tell a man something. If you find yourself in a marriage where maybe the woman has empowered herself and is very successful and claims as if he doesn't need you, it means because you're a useless person. You don't know what to do. You don't have other things. Women have things that they can depend on you for. If you marry the one that is already having money, you should build up other capacities that she will need. Women have so many needs. Men have very few needs, but women have thousands of needs. Find those areas and begin to handle it. One of the strengths of a man is to build a relationship between you and your children. Sometimes you don't even know that taking care of your children adds longevity to your marriage. Your marriage becomes sweeter and better when your wife can rely on you, that you can take care of your children, where your voice means something to your children, when you can speak and your children listen to you. I want to tell you the truth, your woman will always respect you. Some of you think it's only every woman wants but money. You think that every woman wants but money. Not every woman wants money. There are some women that are already making their money. So what will you do? When you get married to them, they're already making money, and sometimes making money more than you. So when you begin to look at that, so you have to build up skills and other things to be able to match up to her. Because there are some women that are automatic, they are naturally authoritative. Some women are naturally, and there are some tribes that when you marry from there, you should be ready that you'll be controlled. The only thing you should do is to learn how to handle control spirit. That's how it goes. If you must marry there, it happens as I'm talking right now like this. Some of you are going through it, where you marry from a particular tribe, and nearly all of them exhibits the ability to control a man, or maybe the attributes of controlling a man. Always over to be. You must also match up to it, brother. You must match up to it. Match up to it by not shouting and quarreling and begin to make people to know that you are a man. No. It's not like that. Some of you want to even use the hands. Oh, the day you use your hand on a woman, you lose yourself. You lose your position. You lose your manhood. You lose every other thing. I'm telling you, that's why some of you have never recovered from your marriage, because you decide to start beating a woman. Instead of you to use big grammar on her. Women don't like grammar. When you use grammar on her head, she begins to paralyze. There are some things you should be able to say it and say it rightly. No, because when you begin to, oh my God. I'm telling you, a lot of men have messed up this marriage thing. Because you think you have power too much. Who told you that you have power too much? Some of these women have power more than you. They are just like, okay, if I beat this man now, what will the society say? Yes, they hide that power. They don't want to come out, because if I beat him now, the world will begin to see me as a problem, because that is what the culture of humanity demands, that a woman should never beat a man. Those women who beat men are always a problem to the society. But when the man beats the woman, no, the man wants to teach sense. Don't you know that the women can also teach a man sense? And that is why I'm trying to tell you this thing. Man, you must be able to build capacity. Not only financially, you must be able to build capacity in different domains. Some of you know that it's only one thing that woman need: money. If I bring chop for house, it go dey okay. If I give you some more money, it go she don't quiet. Who told you that? Some women are more powerful than that. Find out their area of interest. Find out their area of interest and handle it. Not necessarily maybe sex, but some other things. Some women are good in storytelling. They like to hear stories. Some have attention problems. They like to hear they want you to attend to them. And I talk for you the year. I talk for you the year. Now that's it.
Apostle says one power.
So that's exactly what it is. Now Apostle is trying to tell us that here, manpower. You see some of this. Listen to this and listen carefully. Listen to this and listen carefully. Not every man has the ability to satisfy a woman sexually, but he can have something that is stronger than that will keep that woman down. Some women have so many. If you find out some of the things that makes a woman to fall for a man, you'll be surprised. Some of the little things. Humor. You know, if you make woman laugh, so they serious. You make your face like I say, this thing. So now you get all the problem for the well. You enter house, old man get no. Sometimes make a woman to laugh. May laugh some way where people go to say something is happening over there, but nothing is happening. It is you are telling her sweet talks. She always want to be with you. Women are prone to hear. They are prone to listen. They are prone to their mind have been trained in such a way that they like to listen to beautiful things and good things. Please learn to tell them, learn to talk to them, learn to be nice, learn to apologize, learn to accept to listen, because sometimes if you only want to talk, you will be in problem.
Thank you so much, Apostle. Alfred, let's take a few messages. We have somebody who has a question for you, Apostle. Let me take these messages first. The purpose and design for marriage is to support one another, not only for procreation. Didi Quincy, thank you. Good evening, dear panelists. Is it good to pray to God for him to show you your wife? I saw this in some churches. I know that as a man, take your own devil and start anointing her with anointing oil from the first day till the end of October. Apostle, is it right to pray to God to show you your wife? Should you go down on your knees and say, God, please reveal to me who my wife is?
No.
Okay.
Adam didn't see his wife in the spirit.
Okay.
He woke up after looking at him and said, this is a bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. The church and Pentecostals particularly, the only people who pray to see a woman in the spirit that they are seeing physically. So I will leave faith that is in front of me, and I go now to the spirit and begin to ask God, Father, show me faith. I should be able to observe you I know what I want, and if you have the characteristics of what I want, I go for you.
Okay.
All these sentiments we are attaching that we saw somebody in a dream that God showed us, God will leave a girl physically you have seen and go and show you the girl but in the dream. It doesn't make sense.
All right.
So approach a woman and he said, this is the bone of my bone and the flesh of my flesh. The first thing is this: the wife saw the man before the man saw the woman. So it is women that see their husband first, there's the man that speaks first. He said, when God operated Adam, removed his rib, created Eve, Adam was in a deep sleep. Eve was sitting, already created, before Adam woke up from sleep. So Adam spoke first, that this is the flesh of my flesh and the bone of my bone. The woman that saw the man first. So women can easily look at a man and discern who their husband is. And you can as well still make technical advances like roots towards the man. Will come to us some other day. For you, when we think that.
All right.
Think that.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you, Faith. Thank you, Apostles and Mrs. Henrietta. Genesis 3 verse 6 says, Tree of Life version. Now the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was a thing of lust for the eyes, and that the tree was desirable for imparting wisdom. So she took of its fruit and she ate. She also gave it to her husband who was with her, and he ate. See what I have in bold. That is, husband was with her. So Adam was not far. He was right there with Eve. Secondly, if both play their role, they will all be fine. Husband to love his wife and his wife to submit. Mr. Kennet from Douala. My name is Godwill from Ngala from Yaoundé. Sometimes it's difficult to live with a working woman because they think money is important than you. Good evening to everyone in the studio. The people face a lot of difficulties because some women become challenging when they have money more than the man. Apostle, please answer me this question. What can the society do, especially in villages with low minds? Apostle will come to that. Good evening, Faith. The auntie in the studio spoke well, but then she was talking to our young ladies today. What about our mothers in those days who were kind of sold out to marriage without even obtaining a first school living certificate? There was no time for them to obtain their values you're talking about now. Hannah from Kumban. That is why, since that is the past, we are now looking to the future to do better, not to make the same mistakes. Yes. Good evening. I'm enjoying the program. Please, can the apostle answer us? Does marriage exist in heaven? Is it a crime for a pastor to divorce his wife if his wife has become a Jackishan and a weaver bird at home? Tabot from Tambue. Good evening, Tabot. And this one says, good evening to the panelists. To me, I think let us see marriage as let us see marriage and multiply. How are they to multiply? The apostle said multiplying can be taking care of children. Whose children? He talked of whiskey, beer, and money. I want to ask him, why is he dressed in a shirt today? Well, it is modernism, but God is not against any changes that don't affect his worship. Angwe Eric Tata, from Bengui. Thank you so much, Eric. Well, Apostle, one of our viewers asked, what do you do with about a woman who has turned into a Jackishan and a weaver bird at home? What do you do about that kind of a woman?
Very sensitive question. And this is because emphasis has been laid on the fact that as Christians, you are not supposed to divorce, that God hates divorce. Please, we preach against divorce. We do not encourage divorce. But when lives are at stake, we tolerate and permit divorce because your life is more important than marriage. Secondly, there will be no marriage in heaven. Marriage is an earthly affair. He said in the resurrection, neither will they get married or will they be given to marriage. Which means you cannot allow a temporal thing that passes on earth to hinder your eternity. When a woman becomes very mouthy, a woman becomes a fighter in the home, there's something we call in the law judicial separation. You go by virtue of the penal code. You can give her a distance for at least 2 years. You guys sit and reason to see how she can change. If she refuses to change, prolong it for at least 3 years. If she insists in behaving the way she's behaving, then please, you can file in for a divorce and send her to go because your life is more important than any so-called marriage. Now, to those who think that it is an abomination to separate or cut off a relationship or a marriage, it is not. It is not. Because God's purpose for your life is far more important. People can accomplish God's purpose without being married. We give an example here of Agnes. Agnes is Mother Teresa. That's her real name. Agnes lived a life in the Calcutta in India, taking care of the underprivileged, and she was greatly honored. Whenever she spoke, even top-notch authorities of the world respected her because she gave her life as a sacrifice to render services to humanity. That's somebody who fulfilled purpose without being married. So you cannot allow marriage, which is something temporary, to kill and destroy the legacy that God has deposited in you to transfer upon the earth. So please, you should be able to manage this thing properly and don't allow something temporary to destroy what is eternal.
All right, thank you so much, Apostle. That brings us to the end of our very first topic. Right after this jingle break, we dive into our second topic, how to deal with suspicion and assumption in marriages. You're welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us. This is Prime Hour on My Media Prime TV, and on Tuesdays we talk love, relationship, and marriages. And our second topic for tonight, how to deal with suspicion and assumption in marriages. We're coming to you live from Douala, the nation's economic capital, precisely at Bange, where My Media Prime's head office is located. We are also live on Facebook. You can always drop us a comment in the comment section of our live stream. Apostle Esinge, let me start with you this time around. How to deal with suspicion and assumption in marriages. When we say suspicion and assumption in marriages, what exactly are we suspicious about, or what exactly are we even assuming in marriage that probably is or isn't? Because there's a possibility that what you are suspicious about comes to pass. They say there's no smoke without fire. What exactly are these things that we are suspicious of in marriage?
Now, actually, when we talk about suspicion, we're talking about a situation where somebody is or maybe thinking that you are doing something, while you may be doing it or you may not be doing it. So they just want to, they are like, they cannot put their finger there, but they are like saying that something should be happening or something should be going on. That's very common today in our society, where a lot of people do suspicions. They suspect everything, they suspect even themselves. That's how these things go. So a lot of things are happening today, and that is one of the things that break marriages today a lot. Because they suspect, and then anybody that brings maybe a small gossip, they say, hey, I be thinking. I don't think it is today. And then sometimes, especially church people, they'll say the Spirit of God was telling me something like that. That's what they use. They say the Spirit of God. God has not given us the spirit of suspicion. God has given us the spirit of love and of a sound mind. God has not given us the spirit to suspect people. One of the things you should do is to build a sound mind. Build a sound mind. Now, to some, we may be thinking that they are suspecting people only when they cheat or when they don't cheat. To some people, they suspect that your hands are not clean. This man dinner for society. This man a wish man. Because some particular ring the way they wear for your hand. Or, he has a particular kind of behavior. Or he goes out at a particular kind of time, and so many other things. So it creates a lot of suspicion. A lot of people suspect even the food that they eat. Marriage has gone to a particular time that is very complex. You don't even know finally what people really want out of marriage. They suspect everything. You marry a person, from the first day when you marry, you start suspecting, and they suspect you, and they suspect you. Now, one of the things you should do in such situations is that learn to confront people and talk about some things. If you see something that you think you are not understanding, confront the person and ask, this is what I'm taking note, or this is what I see, or this is what I see. Please, it is not the wrong thing. Be bold enough. If you think that you want your marriage to last or you want your marriage to go forward, you must be able to come before. Especially when you see a woman start dressing specially. This woman no be the dress, so wait till don't start dress way. If they say don't see man, it is see man picking. Say the see man picking. That kind of a thing. It is happening. Sometimes you even send people behind them. You send people una watch up. That's why somebody said the women are very anxious to check a man's phone. That's the topic everywhere today. Should a man put password in his phone? Should a man do the? Why are they saying that? It's a suspicion. It's a spirit of suspicion that makes people to think that I should look at a man's phone, or I should pick a man's call, and I should do that. Is the spirit of suspicion. Now, one Nigerian musician, he was talking. He's a comedian. He said that thing where you define them for phone, he did it. Yes, that thing where you define them for man picking a phone, he did it. When you go see him, you know go do nothing. Highest you get high blood. Highest you run over for your parents. Now the thing in that, or highest you kill yourself, or you kill the person. That is how it is. So why do you go to an extent where it can become a heart problem for you? Some of you can develop cardiac arrest because you are suspecting people. You suspect everybody. The way we take and salute that girl are the suspecting. The way with that particular girl you talk for you are the suspecting. The way we did, you suspect to the point where even when the true things happen, you don't even know. When the true things are taking place, you don't even know. Because when people discover that you suspect them, they make sure that they give you very high homework so that you become very stressed up. So suspicion runs in marriages a lot today. I am seeing them every day. I see a lot of people. I hear people talking, and I see, we watch them also in movies where people begin to send spies behind to go and move and to check. Listen to this. If you find out that maybe your woman or your man is cheating or doing something wrong, please talk it out with him and work it out in such a way that they can stop such behaviors and attitudes. That is what you should be doing. But if to say that you just want to stay at the point where you want to go and be finding out and begin to run about, you may see something that will kill you. Yes, how many people are dying today because of that? You may see something that will kill you. Please don't go and begin to look for some things. There are some things that are better left silent and not even talk about than when you go and do it. It may end you up somewhere you don't like to be. Like that woman that is saying that they take me go for a place where I know sabi. That is it. So you will find yourself somewhere. This suspicion have destroyed marriages, have destroyed churches. People suspect their pastors. The way power move today for church and not trust the man of God. That is what is happening. The way power moves today for church, until the woman will come for her, she said, "Darling, you just not only Holy Ghost today, so for church." We are seeing it. And then some people even come to talk to the wife of a minister, and then the wife come and say, "Me too, I find out. I want to check her because I know no, this thing of it be normal." It is happening today. A lot of people are in this trouble and they are hooked up in it. They don't know how to do it. Now, most people who suspect a lot are people who lack one, integrity. They themselves are not well. They have something. They have weaknesses that they feel that because of these my weaknesses, this person may be doing this, or especially a man who cannot satisfy the wife. Some suspects every move the wife makes because he thinks that he will go out for another man, or he will do this, and will do this, he will do this. Now, many women settle for something different than going out for a man. That's what you may not understand. And there you will not calculate it. When you're out of the home, she uses the time in the home and do things.
Like what?
No, don't talk about that kind of thing. They do things. And since they do things, you may think that they are going out to go and see a man. No, they are inside the house doing things. That is where they get their passion. So that when you even come, you touch them or you don't touch them, they don't care. You say the way EBD asked me, EBD put me pressure before. No matter the way that EBD put me pressure now. Now so they ask me that in them again. It shows say no. You don't work like that. People use different methods to handle their problems. If you always assume that something like this must be connected to that thing, you will end up as a problem. How many people, how many churches are broken today? How many marriages are broken today? Only because of suspicion. And then somebody will just come up and bring up a statement and they believe, say, yeah, it's not true. We don't suspect and things. And they will not even want to hear. They don't want to hear. Now, it's no longer the Spirit of God that directs people in the church. It's suspicion. They suspect everybody. We know everybody that works small miracle today or whatever, they call them that their hands are dirty. That's the way it is happening everywhere. Suspicion is invading and destroying families, destroying homes, destroying everything. Some things are better left unknown. Don't try to know everything. You will kill yourself. Don't be all things that you know. Some things they don't leave them. Say the one way you never know, maybe you don't know. If the one way you can't know, that means say God wants, I mean you know. And if God wants you to know something, you don't need to suspect it. God will open it up for you when you least expect it.
Thank you so much, Apostle. But let's not talk about the breeding grounds for these suspicions and assumptions, because yes, like we had earlier mentioned, there is no smoke without fire. But are people not also creating an atmosphere that is making their partners For instance, a husband that probably did not used to keep late nights, you start keeping late nights, and you're not giving your partner the right reasons for why you're outside. Are we not creating an environment where people will suspect us or assume things about us, and then we turn around and blame them for assuming these things or suspecting us of certain things?
As dangerous as suspicion and assumptions can be, sometimes it's very difficult to avoid it.
Okay.
When you work with some partners who are not very transparent, as dangerous as it is, honestly, living in suspicions and assumptions can actually lead to high blood pressure, depression, and all of that. Especially if there is no way you can voice it out. If you just can't voice it out, it keeps you in a state where you can get sick. You can get a damaged system because of that. Now, we will throw blame at people who suspect. The question is, like you talked about, the breeding ground. Why suspect, first of all, in the first place? When you get to a relationship, you discover that in some relationship there is little or no communication. Because if we communicate effectively, there is no reason why I should suspect you. I will only suspect you when you failed to give me some information that I needed to know. Because nowadays it's about Apostle Ezingi was talking about men who are so self-sufficient. They call them because I am the man, I can just do and undo. The woman is most I say a greater percentage of those who will suffer from this suspicion and all of that are women. Especially women, their husbands are not transparent to. They don't speak with them quite often. They don't unveil their plans. Like, they don't communicate what they're about to do. The most dangerous people you want to deal with are people who don't talk. They just act. And you can't tell what they're about to do the next minute. The very next minute, he goes out or she goes out when she wants, and then comes in, and then you don't even know what is happening. And there are times, Apostle talk of creating an atmosphere to communicate and ask. How many persons are ready to sit and talk and explain things to you? Okay, let's take a woman who sits in the house, right? So you talk of a sudden change of attitude. Maybe her husband is not used to staying out up to 10 p.m. midnight. And then suddenly the man gets up and you wait. It's 10 p.m. It's midnight. He's not there. He's not saying anything. You try calling. His number does not go through. And then you get worried. And perhaps you're just getting worried because you don't know, maybe something would have happened to him. It's as simple as picking up your phone and dropping a message to your wife, please, I'll be late today. You don't get bothered if you don't see me home. But that is so difficult for so many men to do because they feel that they are belittling themselves and they want to equate themselves to you. That is information. We are a team. You care for me and I care for you. There's no need for you to keep things from me. So that eventually you see the woman sits or the person, the partner sits, and you start having a lot of things start crossing your mind. You start thinking, before you know it, you start suspecting. Could it be that he's with another woman? Could it be that she's with another man? Could it be that he found a new love? Could it be that he's drinking somewhere? Could it be that he has met bad friends with whom they're getting into some occultic, like in Douala, which is a very terrible place. You begin to suspect a lot of things. It is very vital. If in any relationship, a marriage that has communication deficiency cannot go far, because that is one of the ingredients that keep marriage moving. Communicate. Like, you tell your spouse at every point in time, okay, this is what we're about to do. How do we do? I am going out today. I will be late. Okay, we are taking this project now. We are taking that project. You just do your things and you go ahead. I don't know what you're doing. You don't know what I do. So you suspect me and I suspect you. And most of the time, suspicions, you always get it wrong. Sometimes we always think very wrong things. Yes. What you were thinking was not even...
Some people say they have the sixth sense, that feeling. When I feel so, it means say...
You see, that's how the devil takes it. Because when you start nursing those ideas and you start thinking, that is a breeding ground for the devil to come and settle and then start giving you information, which is wrong information. And that is the reason we don't even need to give space for that. Don't allow space. If you don't inform your spouse, the devil will inform them. That's the truth. If you don't tell me, you don't tell your spouse what is happening, the devil will come and tell them something. That's why you start getting those instincts. Because what? The enemy, the devil came to steal, to kill, and to destroy. And one of those institutions the enemy is very angry with and will not allow you go far in is the institution of marriage. And when he sees a little deficiency, he sits on it and makes sure that he penetrates the heart and gives you accurate information, which is not even true about your spouse. And then before you know it, you're breaking. But that wasn't it. A man is late because maybe he got an opportunity, something happened, and he's hooked up somewhere. But right in the house, you know that he's going to see another woman. See, you sometimes they feeling like you're talking, the feeling is so strong. It could be really so strong, and you're like, okay, I know, and you have enough reasons to justify what you're thinking. Whereas it is not true. And one of those things too is keeping bad company. The company you keep can be a breeding ground for suspicion and assumptions. That somebody comes to you and like, okay, you see this your husband, just like Apostle was saying, you see that power in church today, or blah blah blah, what your husband did. I saw your husband the other way. I saw your husband. I've been seeing your husband in my quarter recently. I've been seeing your husband in this area. I've been seeing your wife. Are you sure this woman is normal? I've been seeing the movie with man. They start putting ideas in your head. The company you keep can actually get you to this point, and which is deadly, is killing. Couples, if you're in a relationship, you're in marriage, learn whether it's the act of communication. It is indispensable in every relationship. You can't tell me that I don't talk. No. If you want to survive in your marriage, create time to communicate with your spouse. Because at one point, that's what leads to emotional touches. Some people get really emotionally broken because they don't have the forum, the opportunity to communicate with their spouse. Sure. They don't know what they're thinking. You are going ahead, you're doing the things they are not comfortable with, but you cannot share with them. And they cannot share with you. And each time they try to bring you to reason, let's talk, they are always not available for the talking, for one reason or the other. It's killing, leading to assumption, leading to presumption. When there is no communication, we are bound to get there.
Very well said. Thank you so much. Let's take a few messages. Greetings to you all. What the pastor is saying is very, very true. This discussion needs to be coming up every day to let women know marriage is not a job, but for us to help our husbands. And every husband should create that room to gain respect from their wives. Both parties need to be best of friends. Madam Asomban, good evening to you. Good evening, dear panelists in the studio. I always enjoy your program. The topic of today is very interesting. Rather than getting married to the wrong person, it is better to remain single. There is no marriage in heaven. Yvonne Belen from Adamawa. As tomorrow be Wednesday, some people will still go marry wrong person. Just enjoy the program. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Noela from Bamenda. I'm really enjoying the program. Thank you people so much. Thank you too. Good evening, my dear brothers and sisters of Prime R. What about those men who do not want their wives to do anything to assist them in the well-being of the family? Vera writing from Kumba. Good evening to you all in the studio. I love the topic of today. The two apostles make me laugh. They keep saying one should get married because of interest. Does it mean women should get married because of money? My question goes to Apostle Ambe and Marius writing from Manju. He'll answer that shortly. Good evening, Ma. Please, I wish to ask Apostle Ambe this question. Are you saying someone should not pray to God for marriage? I'm enjoying the program. Please, I want to ask the question, can a man see two women at a time? Wow, interesting. Good evening to you all. Is it good to praise God whenever you need him to protect you, and he should always be with you and answer your prayers? Not a question. Well, we'll come back to that. Good evening to you all. Good evening to Ma Harrieta, who says her sister-in-law doesn't talk to her anyhow because she got married to her husband as a worker. The reason your sister-in-law respects you is because you respect your husband. If you were working and not respecting your husband, then your sister-in-law would still still have been giving you problems. It is good to get married for the sake of children. Even if the marriage is not going, we don't understand that part. I don't know if you want to make a comment about that. Do you want to make a comment about that message? She says if you were not respecting your husband, your sister-in-law wouldn't have been respecting you. Yeah, probably. Probably. So, Apostle, let's now talk about, we've spoken about what it entails when we say suspicions and assumptions in marriage. We've spoken about the breeding grounds for these suspicions and all of that. as adults and as married men and women, prior to this, there are talks about these kinds of conversations or these things that can probably happen in marriage. Why then do we still get into marriage and leave room or space for these assumptions and these suspicions to creep in, and at the end of the day probably cripple our marriages?
Cancel is a choice. It's not an obligation. When they cancel before marriage, it's a choice for you to obey it in marriage or not. Not every student has kept the teachings in school for life.
Exactly.
So it's their choice. They can tell them that stop being suspicious before you get into marriage. But unfortunately, most of them get into marriage with the mentality they came from their homes. There are things you come from your home that even counseling cannot take away.
Yes.
If you grow under a suspicious mother that was constantly educating you, that you see your father like that, you see your father like that, you see your father, you are carrying that thing, because as a matter of fact, most girls carry at least 60% from their homes to marriage, not from counselors. Their style of cooking, the way they dress, the way they talk to their husband, the way they try to raise their children is copied from home.
Yes.
So if a girl grows under a suspicious mother, then she's carrying that suspicion, the same thing in her marriage. So sometimes counseling cannot resolve some problems. They take it there. Number two, there are people who believe in their sentiments. When blood knock from my left eye, so boom, 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 it's danger. You see, the problem we have is that we are too superstitious in Africa. Too superstitious. When I sit like this, I'm a hammer like I show my husband no different will play with this. Or when my inside hands are scratch, now money they come. So you see, that means see, then we will wait for the money through, and we will not see the money.
It does not come.
So the problem is that we are too superstitious. We are very sentimental. Marriage is not sentimental. Because if you are sentimental, the devil will take advantage of your sentiment and produce a catastrophe you will not be able to handle in your home. I was preaching in a conference on marriage, and I said 4 poisons that destroy marriage. First on the list was suspicion. Number 2, people rely on dreams. I saw my husband follow me with collars. It shows very well that this man's hands are not clean. And some people jealously hold those dreams to the extent that nobody can convince them out of those dreams. I saw you with a woman in the dream. Who is that girl you are going out with? And then they will hold on to it. I remember the dream, I dreamed they miss. Then I asked them that, why don't you dream where money is? Let's go and collect it. Dream where they have hidden dollars. You are dreaming only the thing that will tear us apart, that will kill us, that will destroy us. Something is wrong with your dream. Let God, who is showing you those dreams that I'm cheating on you, also show you where money is so that we can sponsor these children. Let God show you, because people are dying in the name of dreams, and these suspicions are all product of things like that. Sentiments, dreams. One of the things that the Bible said, if you catch, the word caught there means caught red-handed. In other words, you cannot assume your partner is adulterous until you have a proven testimony. You have an evidence at hand to show that the person is involved in that act. Suspicions and even gossips from men is not enough ground from a scriptural point of view for you to accuse a man or a woman. That's the reason why God had to push it to the level of you catching. He said the woman was caught red-handed in the act of adultery. That's what is considered adultery. But you see, people have been branded adulterers today because of assumption or because somebody told them. For instance, you can organize a meeting as colleagues and friends in a hotel. You sit there to talk things and drink. Immediately you are walking into that hotel, somebody picks your phone and calls you. Hello. You waste your time for that.
But should you even be at a hotel where your wife does not know that you are going to that hotel, for instance?
It depends on the nature of job you are doing. There are jobs you would do, and there are things you would do which are called confidential issues with your company.
True.
You don't carry everything in your company and disclose it to your partner. It's absolutely out of the ethics of certain companies. So you don't carry what is professional. As a matter of fact, we should separate our professional life with our marriage life. You are working here. There are certain things concerning this particular house that even if you are married to somebody, it is not in your place to divulge those information to him.
True.
So a woman should be able to understand that the nature of your job does not warrant to report to him. You are reporting to your boss, not to your husband.
Same with the man.
Or to your wife. So this is what the trouble is. A woman can also be working somewhere and that she supposed to, somebody went for an interview and they asked her that, are you a Christian? She said yes. They say if you are coming to this company and the boss is inside the office and the boss tells you that anyone that comes to look for me, tell them I'm not around, will you obey your boss and tell lie, or you obey Bible and say the truth? The person will obey Bible and say the truth, dismiss him. He lost the interview because the ethics and the protocols of a company are even respected by God. This is what we're talking about. So it is good to communicate like she said, but it's not everything that is communicable. It's important. We call them confidential informations. So don't carry data about a company that is entrusted in your hand as a worker to your family. Your professional life is out of your natural life, your family life. So that should be established. And then now, coming back to the issue of the suspicious stuff, I want to tell people something. Nobody outside should know your husband more than you. I told somebody that if you're my spiritual son and outsiders tell you who I am, you're a bastard. If you are my wife and others tell you who I am, you're a widow. That's it, because you are a disgrace to the fact that you are not even aware of the person you have lived with for the past 10 to 15 years. There's somebody who has known your husband for 1 week is telling you who the person is. It's a disgrace. That's the problem. How can I be living with a woman in the house for the past 10, 15 years? Then someone comes after 6 months. He wants to tell you who the person you have been living for. Then there's something wrong with your medulla oblongata. So the most important thing is you should be able to tell people outside who your husband is because you have lived with a person for a very long time. That's the reason why you see the scandal that came against that Apostle man could not stand, because why? The last person that if it turns against you, you are finished is your wife. The whole world can criticize you, but if your wife or your husband stands with you, it's like pouring water on a duck's back. But if the whole world is for you and your wife is against you, you are finished. Why? People believe the information that comes from her is authentic. She lives with you and knows the color of your pants. She knows when you eat what you don't like. The most reliable information and the greatest source of any man's information is his wife. That's the reason why people can criticize somebody. But when the wife comes and says, my husband is not what people say, it diffuses into the air. But when the whole world says this man is righteous and the wife says, I'm the one who is living with him, people don't know him, this man is a scavenger.
That is true.
It's concluded. So it's very important.
Okay, thank you so much, Apostle. We're going to be rounding up, but now we're rounding up with what then do we do, Apostle Alfred, when there's suspicions and assumptions, especially with regards to infidelity, because that's one of the most common things. What then do we do when your suspicions and your assumptions are proven right?
Good. Listen to me and listen very well. You didn't marry spirits, you marry humans. The only mistake you do is that you think that people are going to be angels as they come to your home. Humans are bound to enter into errors. They're about to fall short, especially in areas where they have persevered for a very long time. Now, when you're marrying somebody and you feel that they will never fail, they will never cheat, they will never this, they will never this, that is when you are calling high blood for yourself. But if you believe that human beings are human beings, you should also know that they will make mistakes as they are going on. All what you guys should be doing is to build trust, build respect, build love amongst you, and friendship. That's the highest thing you can do. Because what if you catch the person and the person tells you, I don't want to marry anymore, you will do it. You catch it, tell you, sir, I don't want to marry it, and they go me. It has happened.
Not cutting you, sir.
Yes.
Somebody, side chick has called in the presence of the wife pity the master of the wife. Why you spoil my relationship outside?
Good.
Why you spoiling my relationship outside?
That is it. So
we have seen everything.
So let me tell you something. Sometimes you think that there are things you can do and you don't even know what your partner is thinking. Some of them may be thinking and looking for an opportunity for them to leave that marriage. Yes, they may be having that thing and they don't want to run. They just look for some opportunity. Maybe you talk something where you go vex them, maybe they go them. And then they go hold and say, now you talk say, or you say, oh hey, you go come out for the house. He say, hey, you say, oh come out for the house. My hell, you come out one time now. So why they are saying that is because what you could not give them at home, they are looking for it outside. And when they get it, you become a problem to yourself. One of the things you should do is that if you want to keep that marriage and you love your wife or you love your spouse, you should be able to work on it. Build that relationship. Keep on building. I tell you, so some of these things. Look, I watched one small kid on Facebook. This particular girl came back to their house and came to tell the mother that I'm not going to go back to that marriage. I caught my husband red-handed. I caught my husband. He's cheating on me. And the mama say, "Is that all? Go back to your home." He said, "No, you cannot. If it is you, what will you do?" He said, I stayed in my house with my husband because of you. I did not want to go. I caught my husband severally on my matrimonial bed. But what I did was, I knew that there are a lot of things at stake. Let me tell you something about marriage. Marriage is not only about you. Let me tell you, if you learn to expose your spouse, people will not clap for you. You say, "No, I go expose him. I go talk him. I say, I will even go for television, go talk." After you finish talking, what will happen? It remains a scar for you. People will be using you as an example tomorrow. They will be talking about you and pointing fingers at you tomorrow. What you should do is seek to cover up the loopholes in your marriage. Place where you know the worker, build them up. When woman tell you, say, "It manage, me you just live and say it's okay." Sometimes really find out whether truly that okay is the okay, or there are some things that are still lacking for it to be done. Because if you want to say that, I go cash, I go cash him, I go talk, say this. After you catch a wait, you go change. I have experienced a lot of these things before in my life. That's why I celebrate my wife a lot for all these years. I've been married for 18 years.
Wow.
Yes, July 31st made me 18 years in marriage. And we've had challenges. My wife is a hero. There are times that some kind of trials have come to us, even in ministry and in marriage. My wife stood for me. And everybody was paralyzed. Because she knows that if this man goes, what next? If he goes, what next? Sometimes, like Apostle Ambe used to say, you rate your marriage based on percentages. This is 100%. My wife is 70% and has a weakness or a challenge in this area. Should I throw away the 70 because of the 30? That's what people don't want to ask. You only want to look at the weakness. You want to look at the failure. You want to look at the shortcomings. Some things are better not known. Just leave it. Keep your mind. That is why I don't hear me things. Sometimes I wave. You want to talk as I waiver because I don't want to hear me some things where it could disturb my spirit or this. There are some messages they send in my phone. I never read them because of what? Sometimes reading some of those messages are instead going to cause you a lot of tension and a lot of problems. So you avoid some kind of things. Why you go define thing where you never see them? Where the one that way you see, you never do nothing with them. You define thing where you never first see them. The one where you don't see them, you don't do nothing with them. Then you want to do that the one way you never see them. Sometimes don't allow your wife to push you to the wall. Don't allow your husband to push you to the wall. Hold yourself. Keep yourself. Build the integrity of yourself, having the right type of thinking and the right type of thoughts. You may be thinking so many of those bad things and they end up killing you, or they end up pushing you to do what you were not ready to do, and only to discover that you were thinking a wrong thing. So that is
Thank you. Thank you so much, Apostle. Mrs. Henrietta, your last words. What's the way forward?
As we wrap up with this very vital topic, what I would like to tell the public is that one thing married people hardly do is self-examination and self-evaluation in a relationship, because you're working with somebody. At every point in time, you should be able to see if you yourself you're doing the right thing, because we are so quick at accusing the other. When there is a problem, you're so quick at looking at the error of other. That's because many people get married because you want somebody to make you happy. You didn't get married because you wanted to make somebody happy. You didn't get married because, okay, I want to see that this person is fine, he's healthy, he's well-being and all of that. You get married because of yourself. You want to be well catered for. You don't want your emotions to be injured and all of that. So we never would take time to evaluate ourselves, to look at where am I going wrong? What is it I'm not doing right? And one thing we should bear in mind is that the future in marriage, it reserves a lot of surprises. Anything can happen at any time. Whether you like it or not, there are things that will happen that you least expected. That's why you get married with an open mind. Have an open mind, even if you were married to to next of Jesus. If your husband is a pastor. But the thing is that our minds are so caged. The human mind is so caged in such a way that the moment you're getting married, if you ask a girl when she wants to get married to a man, she knows that she's getting married to an angel. She's getting married to a man that can never cheat on her because of the things he says. She's getting married to a man that can never do anything wrong. But then when she discovers it in marriage now, you see she starts getting heartbroken. She starts getting emotionally very tormented and disturbed. Have an opened mind, have the attitude of evaluating yourself in marriage, see where you're going wrong, and if your spouse is doing something that is not correct, see if you are the cause, because in most cases, sometimes you could actually be the reason why the man or the woman is behaving the way he or she is doing. Initiate dialogue with your spouse so you can sit and talk about the things you're not very comfortable with, and have an opened mind, knowing that anything can happen. No, you're not married to an angel. Put your marriage, put your relationship as a priority. Put your children as a priority. Put what you're about to accomplish together. So long as it does not affect your marriage, does not affect your home, there are things you can always look down on, just like Apostle was saying. It's not everything. You can have other ways to manage it, right? And get nagging and destroy your home. And then tomorrow you start regretting. And do not listen to people that will bring you information from outside. Apostle has said it. Learn to know your spouse for yourself. You cannot tell me about my husband more than the way I know him. I've been married to for 11 years. I think I better understand my husband. Nobody can come from outside and tell me what I don't know. So try to understand your spouse, know their likes and their dislikes, know what they can do and what they cannot do, and trust them. Trust your spouse. Let there be the element of trust. If you don't even trust them, you can't stay with them. That will be the root cause of suspicion. You will suspect and you keep yourself you will damage yourself emotionally, which is not very correct.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much, Madam Henrietta. Good evening, presenter of Prime. Sorry, I didn't get your name. My name is Faith Tata. Thank you for today's topic. It's wonderful, and the guests are doing justice to it. Thank you, Apostle Valentine Grath. Love the way you respond to some of the topics on Prime. You and Apostle Alfred, I get your name every time you people are on the program. I didn't forget you, Mrs. Henrietta. You're doing great. I am Ogechi, writing from Enugu, Nigeria. Greetings. This is a nice program, and from this we can learn more. In many marriages now, men divorce their wives because they refuse to do joint accounts or property with their husbands. Please, Apostle, can you help? We're going to tackle that on another edition of the program. Good evening. There's always a saying that if there is no trust in a relationship, then the relationship can never move. Marriage needs trust. If you trust your partner, then you can never suspect your partner. Shekinah Glory from from Limbe. Hello to all panelists. I am Anita. I have a question. If you suspect your partner, if you always suspect your partner on everything that they do, especially when they're talking to a neighbor or a friend, what then do you do? This other one says, good evening to you guys in the studio. I love the topic of the day. Communication is key. Hello, good evening to you all. I'm called Blessing from Akum. Please, can you tell me some topics you can discuss with your partner? Apostle is going to answer that. I can't answer that. Hello, good evening. What happens in a marriage where a woman does not trust the words of the husband but trusts the words of others on the same subject? That is, I think that question has been answered by not just Apostle Alfred, as Mrs. Henrietta has answered that as well. So, Apostle, what are your last words? What is the way forward with regards to this particular topic?
Please, take this from my mouth. It's coming from my heart to you watching this program. Over expectation is the mother of destruction. We are too expectant of our spouses, thinking that they are going to give us at least 90%, and then only to find out they have just 20% to offer. What is killing you is not the error of your spouse, it's the expectation you had. Are you telling me that this person who has gone to school, educated with master's degree, could condescend to a level of sleeping with a housemate? Master's degree does not control erection. Oh, now I want to talk this out. I'm bringing problem. Are you telling me? I'm begging you, those of you who are watching this program, because our society is getting rotten because of over expectation. Some people think that educational elevation is moral elevation. It's an error. What brought down the Roman Empire was not lack of intellectuals. The Roman Empire had 12 Caesars. very educated people, benign and homosexual. It was a moral decadence of the Roman Empire that brought it down. So intellectual capacity does not equate moral integrity. Number 2, financial growth does not equate self-control or emotional balance. A rich man like you, an educated man like you, a man of your age, increment in age does not equate erectional control. So please, he can be educated, he can be rich, he can increase in age and still sleep with a housemate, because that area of his life cannot be controlled by money, education, or something else. This too much over expectation from people, because we rate them based on their societal accolades. It's a very, very serious problem. As much as you are married to that man, expect the best from him and also the worst from him. The woman the same. Expect the best from your wife and equally expect the worst. If you are on that neutral gear, there is nothing that will happen that will take you by storm.
Good.
But if you too much expect and grade somebody to a particular height, when he acts too low, not even average, he acts below that expectation, it can lead to heart attack. That's the problem. That's why you see somebody who is well educated, got a good job, yes, still sleep with the daughter. Incest. Because the thing that is dealing with him is far beyond the certificate he has in his box.
Good.
Is bigger than the pay slip and the bank account he has. Something beyond what he has acquired is dealing with his emotions. For him to have felt affection first for the daughter is something beyond the natural. Let's also consider spiritual implication when it comes to people's behavior.
Good.
Paul says, the evil I hate to do, I see myself doing them. If we do have an understanding of how people sometimes act beyond their immediate environment based on what they are going through, we'll be able to sympathize with people when they are in crisis, rather than condemning them. Somebody can be you are married to, he's a flirt. He weeps every day in the room because inside of him he wants a very decent home. But there is something walking through the members of his body that will not allow him settle for a single lady. What you have to do is to join that man in battle and wrestle against that enemy dealing with him.
Perfect.
But instead we play the holier than thou saints and we condemn those who have weaknesses in their life. I have said that we are selective in our iniquities. That is the man that does not commit immorality. He judges a man who is a smoker, because the area of his sin is not judged. Take note that all those who are condemning others is because the areas of their sin has not been touched. When they came to stone the woman that committed adultery, that was a sin reigning. When Jesus left that sin and touched other sins, nobody was guiltless. He said, if any of you know you have not sinned, we didn't say adultery. It's not adultery. We are talking that now, we know you have not sinned. You see, which means the man who was a thief, but not an adulterer, came to stone the adulterer because the portion of his sin was not mentioned that day. So please, let us treat people with a lot of caution, because we don't know what they are dealing with. I have seen people run into my office and wept, pastors, cried and tell me that, Papa, I don't know why this thing is happening to me. They cry, and I sympathize with them. A young man walked into my church last week and was crying how he drinks and doesn't know what you were there, crying and rolling on the floor. He said he doesn't know what makes him drink. He will cry, get up and go and drink. As a matter of fact, I gave him money to go and repair my car as a mechanic. He took the money and drank it. I arrested him this afternoon. I wanted to go and lock him and say, I'm locking him for what? He's dealing with something that is bigger than him. It's bigger than him. It's bigger. So women and men, let us try to help our spouses fight battles they are dealing with. A man that came from a polygamous home, or from a chieftaincy, the royal background, where they have 16, 17 wives. That thing that came from the father's loin for 16, 17 wives is working in him. He may marry a single woman, but that's 16, 17 wives.
They find the other one there.
He's still looking for the remaining 16 wives.
Thank you so much, Apostle Ambe Valentine. Thank you so much, Apostle Alfred Isingi, and of course, many thanks to you, Mrs. Henrietta, for having joined us on the program this morning, and of course, many thanks to you, our amazing viewers, and to the entire production team for the good work done tonight. We encourage you to stay tuned to My Media Prime TV for that interesting programs on our lineup. Good night.